Hey, Coach. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
We're sitting here pregame talking about second quarters being kind of a issue through the early part of the season,
Yeah.
and tonight's second quarter was about as
Yeah.
dominant as could be. What was sort of the keys to going 25-12 in that quarter, and that kind of being where the tide turned a little bit for you guys?
I thought the first quarter was the reason for our second quarter, because the first quarter did not go as well as we had hoped. We turned it over. Obviously, that was a theme for the game. Unfortunately, it was the lone thing that we couldn't be happy about. But I thought the first quarter play led to our sense of urgency and more purposeful. And then obviously, it was a really good second quarter for us.
And then defensively, to hold them to 65 points on 73 shots. Is that a matter? Were you pleased with the looks you were forcing, at every level of the defense, or is it kind of a matter as well as this ball's not going in for them tonight?
No, I thought start to finish, it was probably our best defensive game from a ball pressure, really getting after them, making them uncomfortable. Deflections, it was our highest deflection game of the season. So that's indicative of, us getting up. We had great confidence in what we were doing with our switches. We were mismatched at times, but our ball pressure sort of kept them from seeing things. We were there mostly. We had a couple breakdowns, but, obviously we're not going to play perfectly. But I thought that was our best effort defensively, sort of start to finish.
We were talking about this before the game, about the kind of impact T is having.
Yeah.
Once again, she kind of changed the whole kind of feel of the game when she came in today.
Yeah, she did. She's just playing, when you get, I'm sure she'll be in here tonight. I mean, it's obviously worth, talking with her at length about just, what's different about her, from last year to this year. I think some of it has to do with, just again, when we met in February, I know I needed to be more intentional about her time on the floor and to be a little more forgiving. I have a tendency to, I told her because I want her to be great, and I think she could really be an impactful player in this league, and so I'm hard on people. I want to push them and hold them accountable, and I think there's a good balance now of T doing enough good things, that we can let some other things slide, and she's playing confidently.
And after kind of a slow start in this area, your threes are starting to go. I think you had a season high in 2 straight games now made. Yeah. Just a matter of just people are going to take it, getting back to the mean.
That's exactly right. Law of averages, regression, to the mean, that sort of thing. No question about it. We still have, a couple other places where we could, get back to that as well. So, but yeah, no, that's it's nice to see. And, Carly had a great training camp and early part to the season. And then she hit a little bit of a lull, but it's life of a shooter. And, BC obviously continues to work through it. Had a good game at Golden State. Thought turned down, too many where she had it tonight. So, but yeah, that's what we do. Love the ball movement. Loved it when we kept things simple. This is a team when you play against them. It's really about breaking plays to make plays. It's not going to be pretty. You're not going to get your actions. They're not going to go perfectly. So we kind of had to play through that little bit of mud. And when we found it, like moving it and doing, just more than one activity and cutting and getting it to the backside. And we did that and had that patience. That was when we got the good shots, and obviously we shot it well. When we didn't, that's when we turned it over. So there wasn't really much of a happy medium there.
You mentioned the turnovers, and you just kind of mentioned that when you didn't shoot it well, it led to turnovers. Is that kind of the main reason you felt that the turnovers were occurring? It kind of seems like in some of these games when you guys have down quarters, the turnovers are kind of what causes those quarters to turn.
Yeah, I just told the group, going into the Golden State game, which was our last game, we were the third best in turnover rate. And so we've been pretty good in that area. And so I think we had 15. 13 is a good number. We had 15 there. And obviously it really got away from us today. Phoenix's point of attack defense, I just thought we were just playing around with it too much. I thought we needed to get off the ball more and just get the thing moving. And, just instead of trying to, impose our will, at times and throwing over the top of players that are aggressively, kind of hawking you. They're feisty. Their guards are very feisty. And so the credit to them. This is what they're doing. They're averaging 9.4 steals a game. We kind of help their average in that. So, but that's why I say to them, like, it hasn't been a problem. We've actually been pretty solid. We talked a lot about it in training camp. Came out of camp, really locked in on it, and we sort of committed to when we get back to work, Thursday or Friday, that we're gonna move that back up our list because we can't have that.
And the bench tonight seemed awesome. Just how satisfied have you been with those bench rotations now that you're whole, as you mentioned?
See, Carly and Jess, that's our bench rotation. That's where we're getting the best play. We're trying to, find our way with the others, who, I didn't think their minutes were great, to be honest with you. But T, Carly, and Jess, like if you have 8 players that you're rotating, that's pretty deep. And then we've got some other players that if we can find their way, you can get a little bit deeper.
Where do you most notice the impact of Kayla since her return?
I think that K-Mac just knows where to be. She makes shooting look easy. Her release, her timing. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is that when she steps on the floor with the group, there's this calm about them that everything just got easier for them because she's not going to do things that are going to get them out of sorts and knows where to be, knows the system like the back of her hand, and then certainly her leadership in game for sure, where she's letting them know what she's seeing and what needs to happen, and she's steady, about as steady as they come.
Coach, just wanted to talk about the defensive assignment that Nafisha had on Satu, held her to 2 points in the second half. Just wanted to see what you saw from that matchup and actually what she was able to do, to make it tough for her.
Yeah, something we were missing in the game out in Phoenix obviously was a game she didn't play, so we were pretty wonky with our matchup on Satu, and she really went off on us. I think there was 2 things. I thought there were a lot of snares where we were switching and Fee wasn't on her, but when Fee was, she was impactful. When she wasn't and we were switching, we were impactful in our ball pressure. And then I thought from there, when she would put it down, I thought her help was good. I think there was one time she went down the lane. She missed the layup, fortunately for us, but there weren't many times that she was able to get into the paint without there being more of a crowd, which we didn't do in Phoenix.
Cheryl, your group is the 8th team to go 8-0 to start a season in league history. I believe we were told 4 of those teams were Lynx teams, but in regard to this particular group, what has allowed you to get off to this type of start, and how much further do you think you could keep going?
Yeah, I think the word that we've used, because as we're working through wanting to play, as we did today, wanted to play great, right? We've had great periods in a game where all of a sudden second quarter would be great or third quarter would be great, but not throughout the game. And so the resilience of maybe the situations that was putting us in. And honestly, I think the collective sort of, being, if you look around the league, there's so much change and there's, new coaches and new players on different teams and systems and whatever, that because we've gotten some continuity, I do think that's been a bit of an advantage as we've started the season. And so making sure that we were capitalizing on that I thought was really important. But I think, their belief in themselves, when we're down 15 with 5 minutes to go, which, we're not happy about being down 15 to play the other team, that hadn't won a game. But they just didn't let that get to them. And they just figured out a way to win. I think that resilience, sort of defines this group. And they know that they wanted to play better. And I think you'll find when you talk to them tonight, we feel good about our complete game today.